mention list with Calais Campbell, the newly defensive end of the Miami Dolphins. Last year he was honorable mention. This year's an honorable mention. He's still relevant. I mean, he still produces at such a high level. He's been doing this for years. Just productive, freaking nature. I mean, 6'8" defensive end. That doesn't happen that much, man. So it's crazy to see what he's been able to do at his age, still performing. Looking at him, 37 years old, 15 years in the league. He signed a 1 year, $2 million contract with the Dolphins to bolster the defensive line. You know, that's what they wanted to do. They needed to do that, especially on the defensive side of the football for them. Played 17 games last year with the Falcons, 56 tackles, had 6.5 sacks, one forced fumble, one fumble recovery, one pass deflection, and 12 and a half stuffs. So, I mean, overall, this was a guy that you wanted on your defensive line, whether you rotated him or not, still impactful. And that's a guy that you want on your team. Miami's going to be very happy having this guy. And yeah, I see nothing but a great benefit for him. He doesn't seem like he's slowing down anytime soon. So I think give him a couple more years. He can still be productive in this league. But yeah, honorable mention for sure. First on the list, we got Carl Granderson, honorable mention, New Orleans Saint defensive end. One of the two defensive ends that are on this list on the honorable mention list. This is a Saints team that has a sneaky good defense. People aren't really talking much about the Saints, mainly because of the cap penalty or the cap hell that they've kind of put themselves into. But at the same time, they got some pretty decent players on that side of the football, man. I think Derek Carr definitely has rejuvenated himself over there in New Orleans, and I do believe that they got something there. They have slowly built it where I feel like they can be a pretty good contender in the South. They're definitely better than the Panthers, so you know it's really just competing against Atlanta and Tampa, and I really do believe New Orleans has a slight advantage over Tampa as of right now, but I would have to look over the depth chart and not not going to jump to conclusions yet. Previews aren't yet, but Saints have a good team. They don't have a terrible team. Carl Granderson's one of these guys that are pretty good productively. 27 years old, 5 years in the league, 4 years, $43.4 million deal. Played 17 games. He had 78 tackles and 8.5 sacks. He also had a forced fumble, a fumble recovery, one pass deflection, and 13 stuffs. I mean, Loki had a baller season. No one talked about this man, but hey, you got to put him on the list. You got to put him as an honorable mention. Hopefully, he balls out and becomes a star and maybe a top 10 guy at some point. Number nine, we got, or at honorable mention, last year, number nine, excuse me. We got Carl Granderson's counterpart over there in Cameron Jordan. He's definitely slowing down and aging, but regardless, he's still very valuable asset to this team. Can still go off, I believe. He can still have a season where he goes off for, the attempted, with the 14 sacks he's had in the past, 15 sacks, whatnot. So he has dominant years. He is slowing down, but I do believe he can you know, still be productive for him. Again, it's a low key, it's pretty good defensive end group there with him and Granderson. Cam Jordan is a gonna get his number retired in New Orleans, absolutely. Right now, Pro Football Hall of Fame is hard to get into, but it's also hard not to see him not get into Canton. He's one of those guys that you need to look at and be like, yep, he's got a Hall of Fame kind of career up here. So you're looking at Cameron Jordan, 35 years old, 13 years in the league. He has 2 years, $25.5 million up in the deal. 17 games that he played, 43 tackles. He had 2 sacks, one fumble recovery. He also had 3 pass deflections and 3 stuffs. So overall, I mean, yep, a little bit of a letdown season, but um, like I said, I think everything can work out with him and Granderson there. And yeah, I'm going to see him have a lot more sacks next year than 4.5. That's for sure. Honorable mention we got is Denico Autry. The honorable mention that played for the Tennessee Titans last year and got signed to the Houston Texans. They did that mainly because they lost Jonathan Bernard to a long-term deal for him, which he'll be on the list at a later moment. So, Denico Autry is a good plug-in. I feel like he's a good veteran type of guy that can step in and you know provide uh, that defensive uplift that they need, right? I mean, Grenard is a tough loss, but this is a really good defense and a really good team. I think they'll live without Grenard. I think they can really excel with the Denico Autry, especially when they have Will Anderson Jr. there, who I think can be a top 10, top five edge rusher, DN type of player, man, definitely. When you look at Denico Autry, 35 years old, 10 years in the league, or 34 years old, 10 years in the league. 2 years, $17 million, what he signed for Houston to be in Houston. In Tennessee last year, he played 17 games, had 50 tackles, 11 and a half sacks, two forced fumbles, four pass deflections, and seven and a half stuffs. Again, Tennessee didn't make the playoffs or nothing, but that was pretty good for a guy that was in his early 30s, especially when they look at football. They think he's going to slow down. He's at that age, but still going pretty strong. And those numbers hopefully can carry him to Houston and he can still be pretty impactful for the team. So overall, it's a good sign for them. A little bit of a loss for Bernard, but overall, I think he'll be fine. He's definitely, made his announcement that he needs to be relevant still in this league, and Daniel Gautry's done that. We got Jermaine Johnson, the honorable mention person that has not been on this list at all, hasn't been recognized for anything. But Jermaine Johnson was still super young, so been able to prove it this year with a pretty good season as a Jet. Definitely, they have someone in Jermaine Johnson. I think that's a future bright spot for him. This Jets team is just looking to make some noise in the AFC East and in the AFC, and I think they can do that. Absolutely. I think they have the ability to, and the ability to be a threat, especially if Aaron Rodgers can stay healthy with a protected offensive line, which I've already covered. They have some good pieces out there. So overall, though, this is a good DN and Jermaine Johnson, 25 years old, 2 years in the league. He's got 2 years, $4.37 million left on his rookie deal. Um, 17 games that he played, 55 tackles, seven and a half sacks, one forced fumble, one fumble recovery, and that fumble recovery was for a touchdown, or one interception for the touchdown, seven pass deflections, and eight stuffs. He did earn himself a Pro Bowl nod, and that's something that's pretty good. It's pretty big. Step up for him. Definitely see this man being even more impactful. I definitely am going to say he will be getting double-digit sacks this year. I definitely believe that. And it's nice to see New York kind of trying to build a defense and drafting guys that look like they can pan out. Jermaine Johnson is one of those guys that looks like he can pan out pretty well. So nice job for the Jets on this part. We got Kwity Paye, honorable mention. Another young D end that has a lot of potential and a lot of talent to him. A great move for the Colts to even get this kind of guy here from their draft. So, props to them. Another defensive player that the Colts just go out, draft, or get from free agency, and they make him a star, a low key star. No one pays attention to any of these Colts players or any of this team at all. But when you look at it, they have the second best offensive line. They got some really great talented young QB in Anthony Richardson. I mean, they got some talent in the offense. So yeah, this team is overlooked all the time, and it's crazy because they're just actually really good. You look at Kwity Paye, man. 25 years old, 3 years in the league. He's got 2 years, $15.9 million in the deal. 16 games that he played, 52 tackles, eight and a half sacks, two forced fumbles, two fumble recoveries, and eight stuffs. So overall, he is doing his thing. He's definitely improving, and another guy that's going to keep getting better, and hope to see him in a top 10 eventually. So overall, really deserving. glad that he's here finally and able to kind of make a statement that he does belong in the NFL. Along with Kwity Paye's counterpart, we got to look at Samson and Ebukam. This is a guy that's been a NFL journeyman for a while, but he's pretty special just because he came from the same college that I got my bachelor's in um, at Eastern Washington University. I've seen him play live, I've seen him play up close. I knew what kind of football player he was, and in the NFL, he makes some pretty nice plays, dude, and has definitely gotten himself to be recognized again, and it's nice. I think he's definitely hasn't been able to really have the opportunity to play as many downs as he probably needs to. I mean, it's kind of hard to compete for a DN spot when there's so many great DNs out there. Not so many, but you know what I mean. It's hard, man. It's really hard. And Samson still has the drive and willingness to continue to try. And he's been through a lot of teams and he's still there. So I think we've got to give him credit for this guy. Samson's 29 years old, 7 years in the league. 2 years, $12.93 million on the deal, 17 games played, 57 tackles, 9.5 sacks, three forced fumbles, one pass deflection, and an 11.5 stuffs. Had a great year overall, and I know he'll continue to be very, very effective for this Colts team, especially next year. We got Grady Jarrett, honorable mention. Last year he was number 8 for defensive tackles on the list. He's went from D tackle to D end his entire career, pretty much stayed in the same team with the Falcons. Yeah, again, he has transitioned to two different types of positions, and he still kills it. Still very effective. He is aging, but like I said, he is still very important to this D line, this team. Definitely the heart of the Atlanta defense for damn sure. So overall, a Grady Jarrett, 32 years old or 31 years old, 9 years in the league, 2 years, $32.5 million up in the deal. 8 games that he played, 23 tackles. He had 1.5 sacks, two pass deflections, and three stuffs. Again, he needs to stay healthy in order for his numbers to increase. And also, will he be DN? Will he be D tackle? We'll have to see what happens this year. This is a man, though, that can be a top 10 player. He just needs to be fully healthy. Overall, though, Grady Jarrett's been very impactful since he's been to Atlanta, and nothing's changed at all. It's just still the same guy making the same disruptive plays on Sundays for the other team and causing a headache for him. And next, we got Zach Sieler, honorable mention for the Miami Dolphins. Calais Campbell signing, I think, is going to make him, uh, you know, be able to still have some great numbers. I think him and Calais Campbell together are going to be pretty good. It's a nice veteran duo that they have there. Zach Sieler really came into his own this year. A guy that really no one knows. I mean, I didn't really know about him much. Didn't really watch film on the Dolphins as much, but looking at what he was able to do this year was impressive. It really was impressive. And he's definitely able to be a very reliable, valuable player on the team. And, he's going to get a lot more snaps this year. And he's going to be able to play, hopefully a solid season again and show what he can really do. And what he can really do is shown that he could be a extremely great football player and could be on a list somewhere, man, a top 100. I mean, he's just had a great season. You're looking at Zach, 28 years old, 6 years in the league, 3 years, $24.6 million in the deal. He played 17 games, 63 tackles, 10 sacks, one forced fumble, one fumble recovery, one interception, and that interception went for a touchdown, as well as four pass deflections and 3.5 stuffs. Against the Chiefs in the wildcard game, he had four tackles for one pass deflection and one stuff. So overall, I mean, he's had a pretty decent season. Definitely needs to be looked at more, and I see him extremely impacting this team this year as well. On the list, we got Greg Rousseau, the honorable mention from Buffalo. It's a guy that Buffalo did draft. A lot of people thought, it might be too high of a pick. Some people said this is fantastic for him. He's going to be a star. It's going to be amazing when it comes to, playing every down there in the NFL. And then when they didn't see the production come right off, like right away, I think a lot of people wrote him off. And they thought, well, he could be a bust. He might not be that productive. Like, what do they do, And I think a huge thing of losing Von Miller this year, not having him play that many games, it really kind of made him step up and show people exactly what he can do. And what he can do is, be one of the best pass rushers for this team. And you're looking at Greg Rousseau, um, 24 years old, 3 years in the league. He's got 2 years, $15.6 million left in the deal. 16 games that he played, 42 tackles, 5 sacks, one fumble or forced fumble, one fumble recovery. He had 4 pass deflections and 11 and a half stuffs. Against the Steelers and the Chiefs in the playoffs, he was able to have 5 tackles and a sack. So uh, definitely didn't have any crazy thing, no Pro Bowls or nothing. But this is a guy that can be very, very elite for a long time. And being in Buffalo, it's a great draft signing for Buffalo, and I'm sure they're happy right now that they got him.